I died choking on a shrimp cocktail at my own son's wedding rehearsal dinner, my throat closing like a vice while he watched from across the room, his eyes cold as the Pacific in January. The poison burned slow, a family recipe twisted into betrayal. And as the world faded to black, I saw her, my daughter-in-law, slip the vial back into her clutch with a smile that said she'd won. But death isn't the end for women like me, it's just the intermission. When I gasped awake in my silk sheets, the alarm clock blinking 6:47 a.m. on the morning of that godforsaken dinner, I knew I'd clawed my way back from hell to burn theirs down. The first thing I did was laugh, a raw, ugly sound that echoed off the vaulted ceilings of my Upper East Side brownstone. Arabella Harrington didn't do victim, she did vengeance. And this time, I'd make sure they saw it coming. The coffee machine hissed like an old enemy as I poured my first cup, black as my mood and twice as bitter. It was June 15th, 2023. The day I'd marked in red ink on my calendar, the rehearsal dinner where everything went to shit in my first life. I'd been 62 then, widowed for a decade after my husband, Victor, the steel magnate who'd built Harrington Industries from a Rust Belt scrapyard into a Fortune 500 beast, left me everything but the grief. Our son, Ethan, was the golden boy, Harvard MBA, corner office at 30, the kind of wasp perfection that made tabloids drool. And Lydia, his wife-to-be, the socialite viper with daddy's old money trust fund and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. They'd invited me to the Hamptons estate for the pre-wedding festivities, a family bonding weekend that ended with me blue-lipped on the terrace, paramedics prying the pearls from my rigid fingers.
But now
I was back, body humming with the unnatural vigor of a second chance, every wrinkle on my face smoothed by the miracle of rewind. I glanced in the hallway mirror, same sharp cheekbones, same storm gray eyes that had stared down boardrooms and bailiffs alike. Victor used to say I looked like a Valkyrie, all fire and frost. If only he'd known how right he was. My phone buzzed on the marble counter, a text from Ethan.
Mom,
I can't wait for dinner tonight. Lydia's got this amazing chef, shrimp flown in from Belize. Your fave. I stared at the screen until my knuckles whitened. Shrimp. The vector for the ricin they'd slipped in. Odorless. Tasteless. A nod to my allergies they'd forgotten about. In my old life, I'd waved it off as carelessness, even as the convulsions started.
Stupid.
Trusting Arabella. Not anymore. I typed back. Sounds divine. Darling. See you at 7. Then I deleted the unsent follow-up. Hope you're hungry for the truth.
No.
Subtlety was my weapon now. I'd play the doting mother-in-law, the eccentric widow with her quaint $8,000 monthly allowance from the Harrington Trust, pocket change next to Ethan's 9-figure inheritance, but enough to keep me in Chanel and charity galas. That's what sparked it all. That offhand question at the dinner table in round 1, Ethan, tipsy on vintage Bordeaux, leaning in with that patronizing smirk. Mom, seriously? $8,000 a month? In this economy? We could bump it up. You know, as a wedding gift. Lydia had tittered, her hand on his knee, but her eyes. God. Her eyes had flickered, pale as ash, because she knew. She knew the allowance was the last thread tying me to the company's oversight board, the one clause Victor had buried in the will to keep me from being iced out entirely. I'd laughed it off then, said something about independence. But it was the crack in the facade, the moment they realized I wasn't rolling over. By dessert, the shrimp hit, and poof, problem solved. Accidental poisoning. Tragic loss. Estate streamlined for the happy couple. This time, I'd make them choke on their own lies. I spent the morning in my study. The one Victor had paneled in walnut and lined with first editions, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, all the brooding American ghosts who'd whispered about revenge in their margins. I pulled the Harrington Industries ledger from the safe, the digital one on my encrypted drive. Numbers danced like accusations. Ethan's innovative deals siphoning millions into offshore shells. Lydia's consulting firm billing the company for ghost projects. I'd suspected embezzlement before. Chalked it up to son's growing pains. But deathbed clarity, courtesy of the Elysian Fields or whatever cosmic joke this was, had pieced it together. They'd been bleeding the empire dry, framing it as my outdated oversight causing the dips. My death, the final merger they needed. The safe held more. Victor's letter, yellowed and sealed. The one he'd written after his chemo treatments. Suspecting Ethan's ambitions but too weak to act. Protect what's ours. Bella. Blood isn't always thicker. I'd honored it once. With blind faith.
Now?
I'd weaponize it. By noon, I was on the phone with my lawyer, Marcus Hale, a pit bull in pinstripes who'd buried more bodies, metaphorically, than a mob fixer. Arabella. To what do I owe the pleasure? Another boardroom coup. Something like that, I said. Voice honey over gravel. I need a full audit of the trust disbursements. Discreet. And pull the original will, Victor's codicil on the allowance clause. He whistled low. Ethan won't like that.
He's been
vocal about streamlining. Let him vocalize. I'm the steward until I'm not. We hung up, and I felt the first thrill of the hunt, a coil in my gut like the night I'd closed the merger that saved Harrington from the '08 crash. Power wasn't given, it was seized. The drive to the Hamptons was a blur of I-95 traffic and classic FM crooning Springsteen, Born to Run. Ironic as hell. My Tesla hummed silent, a far cry from Victor's old Bentley. But it suited the new me, sleek, lethal, electric. I arrived early, parking in the gravel drive of the sprawling shingle-style manse Ethan had gifted himself from the company's slush fund. The staff buzzed around, setting tables on the lawn overlooking the Atlantic, white linens flapping like surrender flags. Ethan greeted me at the door, all 6'2" of Ivy League polish and chinos and a polo that screamed casual billionaire.
Mom.
You made it. He hugged me tight. Cologne sharp as his ambition. Creed Aventus. The scent of boardroom conquests. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I murmured, patting his back. Up close. He looked just like Victor at that age. Dark hair, cleft chin, eyes that could charm a jury or crush a rival. But where Victor built,
Ethan
dismantled. Lydia emerged from the kitchen, apron tied over her sheath dress, playing the perfect hostess. Blonde waves, Pilates toned, the kind of beauty that cost a surgeon's down payment. Arabella, champagne. She air-kissed my cheeks, her grip on the flute a tad too firm. Later.
Dear.
Let's chat first. I smiled, teeth bared just enough. We settled in the sunroom, floor-to-ceiling glass framing the dunes. Small talk flowed, wedding florals, peonies. Overpriced. Honeymoon Bora Bora. Taxpayer funded via trust. Then Ethan steered it, casual as a shark fin breaking water. So, Mom, about that allowance. $8K a month? It's adorable. Really, like you're still clipping coupons from the 90s. Lydia and I were thinking. Post-wedding, we consolidate. Make things easier for everyone. There it was. The hook. In my first life, I demurred, changed the subject to the cake. Lydia had relaxed then, her color returning as the plans stayed on track.
But now?
I set my iced tea down with a clink that cut the air. Easier for whom? Exactly? Ethan blinked, chuckle faltering. Well,
For you.
no more nickel-and-diming this state. We could roll it into the main portfolio. Lydia interjected, voice silk-wrapped steel. It's just practical.
Arabella.
With a company's expansion, every penny counts. I turned to her, slow, letting the silence stretch like taffy. Her eyes, blue as a trust fund sky, widened fractionally.
Pale.
Just like before. But this time, I didn't let it slide. Practical. Funny word. Coming from the woman whose branding firm charged Harrington six figures for logos that looked like they were doodled in MS Paint. The room iced over. Ethan's jaw ticked. Mom, that's not.
Oh.
It is. I leaned forward, voice dropping to that boardroom timbre that had silenced CEOs. I've been reviewing the books. Your innovations, Ethan, those Cayman accounts? They're hemorrhaging cash faster than a Vegas weekend. And Lydia's invoices? Ghost clients. Sweetheart. If the board saw half of what I've seen. Lydia's flute trembled, champagne sloshing. You can't possibly. I can. And I will. I stood, smoothing my linen shift. Unless, of course, we discuss adjustments. Starting with why you're so eager to cut my strings. Ethan rose too, face flushing under the tan. This is insane. You're paranoid.
Mom.
The stress. Stress? I laughed. Low and lethal. Try dying, darling. Puts things in perspective. They stared, frozen, as I swept out to the terrace. The hook was set. Let them squirm. The real feast was just beginning. The rehearsal itself was a farce, a string quartet mangling Pachelbel's canon while the wedding party stumbled through vows like drunks at last call. Ethan officiated with forced charm. His best man, some hedge fund bro named Trent, cracking jokes about tying the knot tighter than a non-compete. Lydia glowed under the fairy lights. But I caught her glances my way, wary, calculating, like a fox spotting the trap. I played my part, teary-eyed matriarch, toasting their future with a flute of Veuve I'd personally uncorked. No shrimp for me tonight. I'd ordered a steak, rare, and watched the waitstaff like a hawk. Poisoners thrive on complacency. Dinner followed under a tent on the lawn, the ocean a black mirror beyond. Seated between Aunt Margot, Victor's sherry-soaked sister, and a gaggle of Lydia's sorority sisters, I nursed my wine, ears tuned to the head table. Ethan was holding court, regaling investors with tales of the next Harrington pivot, sustainable steel, he called it, which meant outsourcing to mills that paid pennies and poisoned rivers. Lydia hung on his arm, laughing at the right beats, but her free hand twisted her napkin into knots. Halfway through the lobster bisque, she excused herself. I followed 2 minutes later, slipping through the French doors into the manse's shadowed halls. The powder room was empty, so was the library. But the study, Ethan's inner sanctum, with its leather-bound ledgers and wall safe, glowed under a desk lamp. There she was, Lydia, back to the door, murmuring into her phone. Yes. It's escalating. The old bats onto the accounts. We need to move the transfers tonight, before she calls that shark lawyer of hers. A pause. Her voice dropping. I know.
I know.
The dinner plan was solid. But she's
Different.
paranoid. If we don't lock the will revision. I stepped back into the shadows. Heart pounding not with fear, but fury. So it wasn't just greed. It was premeditated. Layered. The poisoning was back up to some forged codicil. A post-mortem rewrite to erase my oversight entirely. Victor's will had been ironclad. I held veto on major decisions until Ethan proved stewardship, a vague term I'd enforce loosely. They'd planned to paint me incompetent after death. Shuffle papers. Claim dementia or some shit. Her call ended with a hissed, handle it. Or we're both exposed. She straightened, checked her reflection, lipstick pristine, conscience not, and breezed out. I waited 30 seconds, then entered. The desk was mahogany, scarred from Victor's cigar ash. I ran my fingers over the drawers, muscle memory from my own late-night audits. The bottom one yielded, a burner phone, cheap as sin, and a flash drive labeled contingency. Plugged into Ethan's laptop, password, Victory82. His birth year, lazy bastard. It spilled secrets like confetti at a funeral. Emails to a fixer in Miami. Neutralize oversight. Quietly. Wire transfers to Lydia's shell company. Funneled through Ethan's charity, Harrington Hope Foundation. A tax dodge masquerading as urban renewal. And the gem, a draft will amendment, dated last month. Witnessed by Trent and a notary who looked suspiciously like Lydia's yoga instructor. It bumped my allowance to 0, citing incapacity, and handed Ethan full reins. Balrose. Hot and familiar, the same burn as the ricin. They'd been plotting for months. Maybe years. Victor's suspicions in that letter?
Spot on.
Our boy, the heir we'd poured millions into, had turned parasite. And Lydia, the catalyst, whispering poison in his ear. Her own family's fortune dwindling from bad horses and worse divorces. I copied the drive to my phone, cloud synced, encrypted, then replaced everything. Footsteps echoed. I melted into the hall just as Ethan rounded the corner. Tie loosened, scotch in hand. Mom, what are you? Lost my shawl. I lied smoothly. Fluttering lashes. These ocean breezes. He eyed me. Suspicion flickering. Everything okay? You seem
Off.
jet lag from the past. Perhaps. I brushed past. Close enough to smell the betrayal on him. Enjoy the bisque.
Dear.
Wouldn't want to miss the main course. Back at the table. I speared a scallop, savoring the texture. Aunt Margot droned about her bunions. I nodded, mind racing. Confrontation now would tip them, scatter the evidence. Lawyer up.
No.
This needed finesse. American style. Leaks to the press. Anonymous tips to the SEC. A slow bleed until they begged. But first, a test. As dessert carts wheeled out, tiramisu towers, no shrimp in sight, I caught Lydia's eye across the tent. She raised her glass, smile brittle. I raised mine, mouthing silently, to family. Her color drained again, flute trembling.
Good.
Let the fear ferment. The night devolved into dancing, Etta James on the speakers. Bodies swaying under stars that felt too damn indifferent. Ethan pulled me onto the floor for the obligatory mother-son waltz. His hand clammy on my waist. About earlier. The allowance. We didn't mean to upset you. Upset? No.
Ethan.
Enlightened. I stepped on his toe. Accidentally.
He winced.
You've got big plans. I respect that. Just. Don't forget the foundation it all stands on. He spun me out. Face hardening. Foundations crack.
Mom.
Progress demands it. Or dynamite, I countered, dipping low enough to whisper. Careful what you blow up. We parted with polite applause. But the seed was planted. By midnight, as guests trickled to their airbnbs, I retreated to my guest suite. The oceans roar a lullaby of rage. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of Victor's grave, fresh dug. Not yet, mixing with visions of Ethan's empire crumbling like bad concrete. Morning broke gray. Fog rolling off the waves like smoke from a fresh kill. Brunch was mimosas and awkward silences. Ethan burying himself in emails. Lydia fluttering like a trapped bird. Arabella. About last night. Water under the bridge.
Dear.
I buttered my scone. Knife scraping loud. Speaking of, Marcus, my lawyer, mentioned the audit results came in early. Funny coincidences. Her fork paused midair. Ethan looked up.
Sharp.
Audit? For what? Oh, routine. Trust health. I sipped orange juice. Tart as truth. Turns out, some discrepancies. Nothing major. Yet, the table fell silent, save for the clink of silverware. Aunt Margot prattled on about hydrangeas. No one heard. I dropped the gauntlet, subtle as a sledgehammer wrapped in velvet. As we packed for the city, Ethan cornered me in the foyer. Mom, level with me. What's this about? The money? If you need more. It's not about need, I said, zipping my Louis Vuitton with finality. It's about deserve. Victor built this for legacy, not lottery tickets. Cross me, and you'll learn the difference. He laughed. Brittle. You're bluffing. Always the drama queen. Am I? I met his gaze. The same eyes that had watched me die. Try me. The drive home was cathartic. Wind whipping through the sunroof as I blasted Patsy Cline. I fall to pieces. For old time's sake. My phone pinged, Marcus. Audit prelims confirm irregularities. Cayman wires traced to E. Harrington. Shall I loop an SEC? Not yet, I replied. Build the case. Quiet. Vengeance wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon of marathons. Every step measured. Every turn a trap. They'd betrayed blood for board seats. Buried secrets under spreadsheets. But I'd exhumed them all. And the real unraveling? That started now. Back in Manhattan. The city pulsed like a vein I'd once owned, Times Square neon bleeding into Central Park shadows. A concrete jungle where predators wore Brooks Brothers. I dove into war mode. My brownstone transforming from genteel retreat to command center. The study got upgrades, second monitor for dark web dives, thank you. Anonymous VPNs. A shredder humming like a chainsaw. And a bottle of Victor's aged scotch for the long nights. First strike, the press. I had contacts from the old days, Judy Klein at the Wall Street Journal, who'd covered Harrington's rise like a hawk on a thermal. We met at Le Bernardin. Power lunch spot for power players. Oysters on the half-shell and whispers over Chardonnay. Arabella Harrington. As I live and breathe, Judy drawled, air kissing my cheeks. 60s. Sharp as a stiletto, with a Pulitzer for exposing Enron light scandals. What's the poison today? Hostile takeover.
Worse.
Familial. I slid her the flash drive copy. Sanitized but damning. Embezzlement with a side of forgery. My son's dipping into the till. And his fiancée's the getaway car. Her eyes lit like Christmas. Juicy. Motive. Greed. Mostly. With a chaser of patricide light, they poisoned me last time. Or tried to. Judy paused. Fork mid-oyster. Last time, I waved it off. The rewind too wild even for her. Figurative. Point is,
They're sloppy.
run it. But soft, anonymous source teases the irregularities. Let them sweat the byline. She nodded, pocketing the drive. On background,
Then.
concerns mount at Harrington Industries amid executive spending. It'll hit Monday.
Perfect.
And Judy, make it sting. By evening, the SEC tip line got its anonymous love note, me. Voice modulated on a burner, detailing the Cayman trails with timestamps. No names dropped. Just enough breadcrumbs to launch hounds. Regulators moved slow as molasses. But once bang, unstoppable. Ethan called that night. Voice oily over speakerphone as I soaked in the clawfoot tub. Bubbles scented with lavender to mask the stink of deceit.
Mom.
Dinner tomorrow? Just us. Clear the air. I traced a finger along the porcelain, imagining it as his throat. Us. Lydia too.
A beat.
If you want. Family therapy.
Ha. Sure.
My place. 7 p.m. I'll cook. He chuckled. You? In an apron? Lydia's the chef. Not anymore.
Click.
The next day, I prepped like a general. Steak au poivre searing in cast iron. Potatoes mashed with Victor's Secret truffle oil. Contraband from Paris. And a bottle of 82 Cabernet decanting, the year Ethan was born. Ironic toast. No shrimp, no risks. But the real menu?
Truth serum.
They arrived fashionably late. Ethan in a Tom Ford suit that cost more than my old allowance. Lydia in emerald silk that hugged her like a second skin, color of envy.
Fitting.
Hugs were exchanged, stiff as starched collars. And we settled in the dining room, crystal gleaming under the Murano chandelier. Over appetizers, seared foie gras. Rich as sin, I steered casual. Heard about the journal piece. Rumors swirling. Bad for stock prices. Ethan speared a fig. Jaw tight. Bloggers. Nothing burger. PR's handling it. Lydia chimed in. Too bright.
Exactly.
Fake news. Darling. Pass the wine. I poured, watching the ruby liquid swirl. Funny.
Though.
Those rumors match my audit exactly. Offshore shells, ghost fees. Almost like someone's talking. Her hand shook, a drop splashed the linen. Ethan shot her a look, warning. Then me.
Mom.
Enough. If you've got a problem, say it. I set my glass down. The clink a gavel. Problem? Try felony. The will forgery.
Ethan.
Trent's signature?
Sloppy.
And Lydia's calls to Miami. Neutralize? Sounds like a bad spy novel. The color drained from both. Forks clattering. Lydia recovered first. Laugh brittle. You're delusional. Stress from the wedding. Stress? I leaned in. Voice a whip. Try ricin in my shrimp. Tasteless.
Right?
But I tasted it at the end. You watch me choke. Lydia smiled. Even. For what? A bigger slice of pie that's not even yours. Ethan surged up, chair scraping. This is libel. Assault. I'm calling. Lawyers? Do it. I toss my napkin, standing to match him. But first, explain the emails. Contingency plan, post-month. Charming legacy. He deflated, glancing at Lydia, who looked ready to bolt. It's not. We were protecting the company. Your vetoes, they're killing us. Outdated. Outdated. Fury boiled, hot as the stove. Victor trusted me because I see through bullshit like yours. You think forging my incapacity erases that? Or poisoning the problem? Lydia whispered. We wouldn't. Liar. I rounded on her, close enough to see the pulse flutter in her throat. I heard you in the study. Escalating. Move the transfers. You planned my exit. Both of you. Blood for bucks. Ethan grabbed my arm, hard, possessive.
Stop this.
You're ruining everything. I wrenched free, the slap echoing before I registered it. His cheek bloomed red, shock mirroring mine. Controversial? Hell yes, striking your own son in the home you built.
But damn.
It felt biblical. Ruining. I hissed. You did that when you sold your soul for spreadsheets. Get out. Both of you. And Ethan? The board meets Friday. Your throne's got termites. They fled, door slamming like a guillotine. I sank into my chair, hands trembling, not regret, but release. The counterstrike had landed, raw and real. But vengeance? It demanded more. Deeper cuts. That night, alone with the cooling steak, I scrolled SEC filings on my tablet. Whispers of investigation already. Judy's piece had teeth. Calls from board allies. Arabella. What's this about Ethan? I stonewalled, planting seeds. Twist one came at 2 a.m., a knock. Not the door, persistent, coded. I peered through the peephole, Trent, disheveled, eyes wild. Let me in, he begged when I cracked the chain. They're coming for me. Lydia, she flipped. Said I forged the will. But it was Ethan's idea. I ushered him in, poured scotch. His story spilled, coerced into witnessing. Paid off with stock tips that tanked. He said you'd never know, after the accident. I laughed. Bitter. Ryson's no fender bender. Trent blanched. You knew. Know enough. I slid him my card. Talk to Marcus. Immunity for testimony. Sink or swim. He nodded, fleeing into the night. Ally gained. Or pawn. Time would tell. Dawn broke bloody. Headlines brewing. My phone lit up. Unknown number. Voicemail. Lydia. Voice cracked. You win this round, Arabella. But family's forever. Watch your back. Forever? I'd make it their prison sentence. Friday's board meeting was a coliseum, Harrington Tower's top-floor conference room, glass walls framing the Hudson like a moat. I'd called an emergency session, citing fiduciary irregularities, my name still carrying weight after decades of stewardship. Ethan arrived late. Power's suit rumpled. Lydia absent, smart girl. Or coward. The 12 suits, old lions like me, young Turks with MBAs, murmured as I took the head seat. Projector humming to life. Slides I'd prepped with Marcus. Wire trails in neon charts. Email chains redacted just enough to damn without suing. Gentlemen, ladies, I began. Voice steady as the Empire State. Harrington Industries faces a crisis. Not market dips, betrayal from within. Gasps rippled as the forgery draft flashed, Ethan's digital fingerprints all over. Then the transfers. $47 million vanished into ether. Lydia's firm the black hole. Ethan bolted up. Face thunder. This is fabricated. Mom's grasping. Personal vendetta. Vendetta? I clicked to the audio. Lydia's study call. Scrubbed clean but incriminating. Neutralize oversight. Your words. Son. Via her mouth. The room erupted, shouts.
Calls for adjourn.
Old man Hargrove. Victor's golf buddy. Pounded the table. Embezzlement? Forgery? Christ. Ethan. We trusted you. I can explain, he stammered. But security, my call, escorted him out. Protesting like a felon in first grade. By noon, he was suspended. Shares plummeting 18%. SEC raided his office by 2 p.m. Agents in windbreakers hauling boxes. I watched from my limo. Parked curbside. The tower's shadow swallowing him whole. But high stakes breed desperate plays. That evening, as I navigated a gala at the Met, black tie, diamonds winking like co-conspirators, Trent cornered me in the Egyptian wing. They're after me. Mrs.
Ash.
Ethan called threats. Lydia's ghosting everyone. Stay low, I advised. Sipping Veuve. Testify true. And your gold. He nodded, vanishing into the crowd. But the gala turned sour at midnight. A text from an unknown. Photo attachment me. From years back. Arm in arm with Victor at a fundraiser. Caption. Secrets die with you. Or without. Chills spidered my spine.
Blackmail?
Digging into my past, Victor and I had skeletons, affairs buried. Deals bent, but nothing criminal. Still, the threat loomed. Home by 1 a.m. I poured scotch, rifling Victor's letter again. Blood isn't always thicker. Underlined twice. What had he known? A quick search, my private archives, yielded a file. Ethan's college incident. Hazing gone wrong. A pledge hospitalized. Payout hushed with trust funds. Victor's note covered it. For family. But watch him.
Bella.
I dismissed it as youthful folly.
Now, pattern.
The boy who'd bully for belonging now bled empires for the same. Saturday brought the storm. Ethan's arrest. Leaked to TMZ before CNN. Harrington heir and embezzlement bust. Lydia surrendered downtown. Tear-streaked in cuffs. Spin doctors calling it misunderstanding. Bail set at 10 mil. Ethan posted it via slush remnants. He showed at my door Sunday. Alone. Hollow-eyed.
Mom. Please.
One talk. Against my gut. I let him in. The living room felt tomb-like. Persian rugs muffling his steps. He collapsed on the sofa. Head in hands. It was her. Lydia. Pushed me, the debts. Her family's mess. I just wanted to fix it. Fix. I sat opposite. Unyielding. By killing your mother? He flinched. We didn't. Ricin was a bluff. Back up if you fought the will. I swear.
Lies.
Layered like onion skin. But his eyes, Victor's eyes, cracked. Tears real. Controversial mercy tugged. Forgive? Rebuild?
No.
Vengeance demanded justice. Not absolution. You're done, Ethan. Board vote tomorrow. Ousted permanent. And the trial? Full exposure. No plea. No shadows. He surged forward, grabbing my wrists. You can't. This is my life. I twisted free, knee connecting with his gut, dirty, effective. He wheezed, doubling. Your life? You stole mine first. As he crawled out, retching apologies, I locked the door, adrenaline crashing. High stakes indeed, family fractured. But was it worth the shards? Monday's ouster was swift. 9-3 vote. Me abstaining for optics. Press conference followed. Me at the podium, poised in pearls. Harrington indoors. Integrity first. Shares rebounded 12% by close. But the twist got punched at dusk. Marcus. Frantic call. Arabella. The will. Victor's original. Someone tampered pre-death. A codicil. Hidden. Names you as accomplice in that 08 bailout. Shady loans. Laundered through shells. My blood iced. Victor? Covering for me? No, the bailout was clean. Or so I'd thought. Desperation post-crash. Yes. But ethical bends. Not breaks. Who found it? I demanded. Trent. Before he vanished. Left a note. They'll use it against you. Lydia knew. Lydia. The Viper had depths, blackmail fodder from Victor's grave. The counterstrike? Now a boomerang. I paced, mind whirling. Expose her? Risk my own dirt? Or bury it deeper? Let the trial grind them regardless? Decision time, controversial as hell. I called Judy. New angle. Dig into Lydia's family, old money, old sins. And Victor's codicil? Leak a tease. Make it their poison. By nightfall, whispers swirled. Harrington widow and cover-up? But twisted, implicating Ethan as forger. Me as victim. High stakes climbed. And I was all in. The trial opened in federal court, downtown's squat fortress of justice, where American dreams went to die under fluorescent hum. Fall leaves skittered outside like fleeing witnesses. Inside, the gallery buzzed reporters, rubberneckers, Aunt Margot with her flask. I sat front row. Spectator now. Armor of cashmere and calm. Ethan and Lydia, side by side in navy suits, looked like defendants in a bad Lifetime movie. Him gaunt, her Botox frozen. Charges. Wire fraud. Forgery. Conspiracy. No murder, Ryson deemed, intent to harm. Plea bargain down. But the judge, a no-nonsense Latina with Brooklyn edge, eyed them like roaches. Prosecution painted vivid. A son and his fiancée, plundering a legacy for luxury. Offshore havens. Forged futures. A mother's life as collateral. Exhibits flew. My flash drive. Trent's testimony he'd surfaced. Wired up. Emails read aloud. Lydia's neutralize echoing like a death knell. Defense flailed. Youthful overreach. No malice. But the jury, blue-collar mix. Resenting trust fund sins sneered. Mid-trial. The bomb dropped. My complicity. Ethan's lawyer, slick as oil, waived Victor's codicil. 8 loans, laundered through proxies. Mrs. Harrington signed off.
Pot.
Meat kettle. Gallery gasped. I stood, voice cutting the chaos. Objection, Your Honor. That's doctored. Victor protected me from fallout, But those loans save jobs. 5,000 in Pittsburgh. Clean as confession. Judge sustained. But damage lingered. Whispers of dynasty of deceit. Lydia's eyes met mine across the aisle. Triumph. Fleeting. She'd planted it, hoping mutual destruction. But I countered. Controversial firebrand. Post-session presser. Me raw. Yes. Bends in the road. But Harrington fought recessions while others folded. My family? They broke it for Bentleys. Viral by Vespers. Harrington truth trending. Sympathy swinging. Trent sealed it. Cross-exam.
Crumbling.
Ethan ordered the forgery. Lydia? The ricin vial from her contacts in Miami. For the dinner. Jury deliberated 18 hours. Longest coffee run of my life. Verdict. Guilty.
Both.
Ethan. 15 years. Lydia.
12.
Concurrent. No parole whispers. Sentencing was theater. Ethan. Sobbing. Mom. Forgive. Cut off by gavel. Lydia. Ice queen till the end. You won. Arabella. Enjoy the ashes. As marshals led them out, our eyes locked. No pale face now, just pale soul. Ashes. I murmured. Audible only to ghosts. Yours. Outside. Flashbulbs blinded. I shielded with a statement. Justice served. Harrington rebuilds clean. Board reinstated me interim CEO, share soared. But reckonings echo haunted. Months later, alone in the brownstone, Ethan's old room gutted to Jim, I found Victor's letter anew, tucked in a Bible I'd ignored. Postscript, if he turns,
Cut deep.
but remember, love was the build. Tears came, first since rewind. Had I, vengeance sated, but family, shattered mosaic. Twist finale, a package, unmarked. Inside, Lydia's clutch from that night, vial empty. Note scrawled, bluff?
No.
But you lived. Respect. And a key to a safety deposit box. Miami. Contents, proof of her innocence on ricin, framed by Ethan's solo desperation. She'd known. Covered for love's fool. By tragic end? No, catharsis. I torched it all. Ashes to the Hudson. Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding? A start. Harrington thrived, me at helm. Sustainable steel for real. And in quiet nights, Springsteen low, I whispered to Victor, we won. But damn, it cost. Second chances aren't clean. They're American as apple pie and arsenic sweet. Sharp. Unforgettable.